The sky above planet Zorath was still burning. Thick smoke moved slowly across the broken land. Pieces of alien ships were scattered everywhere like dead giants. The war was over. But the silence felt even more dangerous than the battle. Human forces had won, and they had only one final order. No survivors. Captain Armin walked alone through the wreckage. His heavy boots crushed metal and glass with every step. His armor was damaged, covered in ash and scratches. His helmet visor flickered as it scanned the area for life signs. He had seen many battlefields before, but this one felt different, too quiet, too empty. "This is Captain Armin," he spoke into his com. "Sector 7 is clear, no movement detected." His voice was cold. There was no emotion left in him. Years of war had taken everything away. His home, his family, even his fear. A small fire burned nearby. Sparks floated into the air like dying stars. Armin kept walking, checking every corner, every shadow. Then he heard it. A very soft sound, almost too quiet to notice. Like something moving behind broken metal. Armin stopped. His body became still. His hand slowly moved to his weapon. He turned toward the sound. The scanner on his visor tried to lock on, but it showed nothing clear. "Show yourself," he said in a low voice. There was no answer, only silence again. But then the sound came back, a small movement, a weak breath. Armin stepped closer, each step slow and careful. His weapon now fully raised, he reached a broken part of a ship. Half of it was buried in the ground, dark inside, like a hollow cave. For a moment, he paused. Then he moved the metal aside and saw her, a small alien child, curled up in fear. Her skin had a soft glow, pale blue under the ash. Her eyes were large and bright, filled with something he did not expect. Not hate, not anger, but fear. And hope. Armin did not move. His weapon was pointed directly at her. The mission was clear, no survivors. The child looked at him, her small body shaking. But she did not run. She did not scream. Slowly, she stood up, her legs weak, barely able to hold her. Armin's finger moved to the trigger. Just 1 second. That was all it would take. He had done this before, many times, without thinking, without stopping. But this time felt different. The child took a small step forward, then another. She walked toward him. Armin's grip tightened on his weapon. "Stop," he said, but his voice was not as strong as before. The child did not stop. She came closer, closer, until she was right in front of him. For a moment, time felt frozen. The fire behind them crackled softly. Ash fell from the sky like snow. Then the child slowly raised her small hand and touched his armor. Armin's body froze. No enemy had ever come this close. No one had ever touched him like that. The child looked up at him, her glowing eyes soft, and then she spoke in a weak, trembling voice. "Dad." The word hit him harder than any weapon. His fingers stopped on the trigger. His mind went empty. Memories flashed in his head. A small hand holding his. A voice calling him the same word. Something inside him broke. For the first time in years, Captain Armin did not know what to do. The war had trained him to destroy, to follow orders without question. But this was different. The child did not move away. She held on to him, like he was the only safe thing left in the universe. Armin stood there, silent, frozen between duty and something he thought he had lost forever. And in that moment, the most feared soldier in the galaxy hesitated. Captain Armin did not move. The small hand of the alien child was still touching his armor. Her grip was weak, but it felt strong enough to stop him. His finger stayed on the trigger, but he could not press it. The word she said was still echoing in his mind. "Dad." It did not make sense. She was not human. She was not his child. And yet, something inside him felt shaken. "Step back," Armin said slowly, his voice low and uncertain. The child did not understand his words, but she understood his tone. Still, she did not move away. Instead, she held his leg tighter, like she was afraid he would disappear. Armin looked down at her, his helmet visor scanning her again. Weak life signs, low energy, minor injuries. She was not a threat, just a child. His cum suddenly came alive. A sharp voice broke the silence. "Captain Armin, report your status." Armin did not answer immediately. His eyes were still on the child. "Captain, respond," the voice repeated. He finally spoke. "Sector 7 is clear." There was a short pause. "Confirmed? No survivors?" Armin's grip on his weapon tightened. This was the moment. One word. That was all it would take. "Yes," he said. The lie felt heavy. But once it left his mouth, there was no going back. "Return to base," command ordered. "Extraction in 5 minutes." The com went silent again. Armin stood there, still holding his weapon, still feeling the small hand on his armor. He looked at the child again. Her eyes were half closed now, her body shaking slightly. She was tired, hungry, alone. Just like he once was. For a moment, he saw something else. Not an alien, not an enemy, but a memory, a small human child. Laughing, running toward him, calling him the same word. "Dad." Armin quickly shook his head, pushing the memory away. That life was gone, destroyed by war. He was not that man anymore. He lowered his weapon slightly. The child noticed the movement. Her grip became softer. Armin slowly knelt down, bringing himself closer to her level. She did not step back. She did not show fear, only trust. That made it harder. "You should not be here," he said quietly. The child tilted her head, not understanding the words, but listening to his voice. A loud explosion echoed in the distance. The ground shook slightly. Time was running out. Armin looked around, scanning the area. More human units would arrive soon, and they would not hesitate. If they found her, she would not survive. Armin looked back at the child. She was barely standing now, her legs shaking more than before, without thinking. He reached out his hand. For a second, he paused. Then he placed his weapon on the ground. The sound of metal hitting metal felt loud in the silence. The child looked at the weapon. Then back at him. Armin gently placed his hand on her shoulder. She flinched for a moment, then relaxed, slowly, carefully. He lifted her into his arms. She was light, too light. Her head rested against his chest, as if she had done this before. Armin froze again. This feeling. It was dangerous. He stood up, holding her securely. 5 minutes, he whispered to himself. That was all the time he had. His mind started racing. If he returned to base, she would be taken. Studied, or worse, if he ran, he would become a traitor, hunted by his own people. Armin looked at the burning sky, then back at the child in his arms. Her eyes were now closed, her breathing slow and weak. She trusted him. Without knowing who he really was, without knowing what he was supposed to do, Armin took a deep breath. Then he made a choice, not as a soldier, but as something he thought he had lost forever. He turned away from the extraction point and started walking in the opposite direction. The cum on his armor began to beep again, calling him back, but he ignored it. Each step he took now was heavier than before, not because of the weight in his arms, but because of the decision he had made. In saving her, he had just declared war. On his own side, Captain Armin moved fast through the broken land. The burning sky above him gave just enough light to see the path ahead. Smoke followed him like a shadow. Every step he took felt like he was moving deeper into danger. The small alien child rested in his arms. Her breathing was soft and uneven. She was losing strength. Armin looked down at her for a moment. Her small hand was still holding onto his armor. Even in her weak state, she did not let go. "This is not safe," he whispered, though he knew she could not understand his words. A sharp sound cut through the air. A low mechanical hum. Armin stopped instantly. His body tensed. He knew that sound. Recon drones. His visor quickly scanned the sky. 3 small lights moved between the smoke, searching. "Search pattern active." A distant robotic voice echoed. Armin looked around. There was no open path, no safe direction. Then he saw it. A deep crack in the ground, formed from a recent explosion. Without wasting a second, he jumped down into it. The landing was hard, but he protected the child with his body. Dust rose around them, covering their position. Armin stayed still, holding his breath. The drones moved above, their scanning lights passing over the crack. For a long moment, nothing happened. Then slowly, the lights moved away. Armin exhaled quietly, but he did not relax, not yet. He looked down at the child again. Her eyes slowly opened. She looked confused, weak. But when she saw him, she smiled. It was small, but real. Armin felt something strange in his chest, a feeling he had not felt in years. He quickly looked away. Trying to ignore it, he reached into his belt, pulling out a small water capsule. Carefully, he opened it. "Drink," he said softly. The child did not understand the word, but she saw the water. Slowly, she reached for it. Her hands were shaking, but she managed to take a small sip. Then another. Color slowly returned to her face. Armin watched her closely, making sure she was okay for a moment. The war felt far away. The noise, the destruction, the orders, all of it faded, leaving only silence. And the two of them. But that moment did not last. A loud sound came from above, heavier this time. Not drones, soldiers. Armin's visor picked up multiple signals. Human units closing in. "Area not fully cleared," a voice said above. "Search again." Armin clenched his jaw. They were getting closer. He could not stay here. He carefully stood up, holding the child close. "Stay quiet," he whispered. She looked at him, as if she understood. Slowly, he started moving through the crack, each step careful, each sound controlled. The walls around him were narrow, but it gave him cover. Above, footsteps echoed, heavy and dangerous. Armin paused. Listening, two soldiers stopped right above him. "I thought this place was clear," one said. "Orders changed," the other replied. "They want zero risk." Armin looked down at the child. Her eyes were wide now. She could hear them too, without thinking. She pressed closer to him, hiding in his chest. Armin placed his hand gently on her head, trying to calm her. "Don't move," he whispered. The soldiers above shifted their positions. For a second, one of them stepped closer to the edge. Dust fell down into the crack. Armin's heart slowed. Every second felt longer. Then, "Nothing here," the soldier said. Their footsteps moved away. Armin waited, counting in his head. 1, 2, 3. Only when the sound was completely gone did he move again. He reached the end of the crack, climbing out slowly. The land ahead was darker, less fire, more shadows. Better for hiding. Armin adjusted his grip on the child. She looked up at him again. "Dad," she whispered weakly. The word hit him again, but this time he did not fight it. He looked ahead, his eyes focused. "I need to get you out of here," he said quietly. He did not know where he was going. He did not have a plan, but he knew one thing. He would not let them find her, even if it meant going against everything he had ever followed. Armin stepped forward into the darkness, carrying not just the child, but a decision that would change his life forever. Captain Armin walked deeper into the dark side of the planet. The fires were far behind now. Only shadows and broken land stretched ahead. The night felt cold, but the child in his arms was warm. Her small body pressed close to him. She was awake now, her eyes slowly moving. Watching everything around her, Armin adjusted his grip, trying to make her more comfortable. "You need to stay strong," he said quietly, though he knew she could not understand the words. The child looked up at him, her glowing eyes soft and calm. She lifted her small hand again and touched his armor, not in fear, but like she was checking if he was still there. Armin stopped for a moment. He looked down at her. Then slowly he removed his helmet. The air was heavy, filled with dust, but he ignored it. For the first time, the child saw his face, tired eyes, rough skin. A man shaped by war. She stared at him, curious, not afraid then. She smiled again, a simple small smile. Armin did not smile back, but something inside him softened. "It's been a long time," he whispered, almost to himself. They continued walking, step by step, through the silent land. After some time, Armin found a small broken structure, half destroyed, but still offering some cover. He stepped inside carefully, scanning the area first. No movement, no signals. Safe for now. He sat down slowly, still holding the child. Her body relaxed almost instantly. Like she finally felt safe, Armin reached into his pack again. Pulling out a small food ration, he broke a small piece and held it in front of her. "Eat," he said softly. The child looked at it, then back at him. Slowly, she took it. She tasted it carefully, then started eating more. Armin watched her, making sure she did not struggle. For a moment, there was peace. No war, no orders, no voices, just silence. The child finished eating, then looked at him again. Her eyes were heavier now, sleep slowly taking over. She moved closer, resting her head against his chest. Her small hand held onto his clothing. "Dad," she whispered again. Armin closed his eyes for a second. The word did not feel strange anymore. It felt real. A memory came back to him. A small house, a quiet life. A little girl running toward him, laughing, calling him the same word then. Fire, screams, loss. Armin opened his eyes quickly. That past was gone, destroyed. He had buried it deep inside, but now it was coming back because of her. He looked down at the child. She was asleep now, breathing slowly, peacefully, trusting him completely. Armin placed his hand gently on her head. A simple movement, but it meant something more. "I won't let anything happen to you," he said quietly. This time, it was not just words. It was a promise outside. The wind moved through the broken land, carrying distant sounds of war. Armin stayed alert, even in this quiet moment. He knew they were still searching. He knew this peace would not last. But for now, he allowed himself to sit, to breathe, to feel something again. The child moved slightly in her sleep, holding him tighter. Armin did not move away. He stayed still, letting her rest. Minutes passed slowly. Then his visor, placed beside him, lit up suddenly, a silent alert signal. Armin looked at it quickly. His eyes narrowed, new scans, closer than before. They were tracking something, and they were getting near. Armin picked up his helmet, his calm expression returning. The soldier inside him was still there. But now, he was not just a soldier anymore. He stood up slowly, careful not to wake the child. Then he looked toward the dark outside. "They're coming," he said under his breath. He adjusted his grip on the child, this time stronger, more protective, more personal, because now she was no longer just a survivor, and he was no longer just following orders. They had become something else, something dangerous, a bond, and that bond was about to be tested. Captain Armin stepped out of the broken structure. The cold wind hit his face as he put his helmet back on. His visor lit up with warning signals. Multiple targets were moving fast. They were close, too close. He tightened his hold on the child, her small body still resting against him. But she was starting to wake up. "Stay quiet," he whispered, his voice calm but serious. The child opened her eyes slowly. She looked at him, then around at the dark land. She could feel the danger. Armin began moving quickly, not running yet, but faster than before. His steps were silent, controlled. The ground ahead was uneven. Broken rocks, deep cracks, perfect for hiding. Behind him, distant voices echoed. "Movement detected," one soldier said. "Track it," another replied. Armin's jaw tightened. They were following him. His own people. He reached a higher ridge, climbing carefully while holding the child. At the top, he looked back. Small lights moved in the distance. Flashlights cutting through the darkness. They were spreading out, trying to surround him. "Smart," Armin muttered. He turned and moved down the other side, sliding slightly on loose ground. The child held onto him tighter. "Dad," she whispered softly. Armin did not respond this time, but his grip became stronger. A loud sound suddenly filled the air. A scanning pulse. Armin froze for a second. His visor flickered. "They are using full scan," he said quietly. That meant they were serious. He quickly looked around. There was no time to hide. Only one choice left: run. Armin started moving fast now, his steps heavy but quick. The ground shook slightly as distant explosions continued. Behind him, the soldiers saw the movement. "Target confirmed," a voice shouted. "Stop immediately," another voice ordered through comms. Armin ignored them. A shot fired. Energy blast hit the ground near him, sending dust into the air. The child flinched, holding onto him tightly. "It's okay," Armin said, though he knew it was not. Another shot came closer. Armin changed direction quickly. Using rocks and broken structures as cover, he moved like a shadow, fast, unpredictable. Years of war had trained him well. But now, he was not fighting for victory. he was fighting to protect. A drone dropped from above suddenly, blocking his path, its weapon charged instantly. Armin reacted without thinking. He shifted the child to one arm and pulled his weapon with the other. One clean shot. The drone exploded into pieces. He did not stop. More voices behind him. He's armed. Take him down. Armin reached a narrow path between two large rocks. A perfect choke point. He stepped inside, then turned around, carefully. He placed the child behind a rock. Stay here, he said softly. She looked at him, fear in her eyes, but she did not move. Armin stepped forward again, his weapon ready. The soldiers appeared at the entrance. 3 of them, fully armed. Captain Armin, one of them said. What are you doing? Armin said nothing. Step aside, the soldier continued. You are breaking direct orders. Armin's voice was calm when he finally spoke. I'm not letting you pass. There was silence for a moment. Then the soldier shook his head. You've lost your mind. Maybe, Armin replied. The tension grew heavy, both sides ready, both sides waiting. Then suddenly, a shot fired. The fight began. Armin moved fast, using the narrow space to his advantage. One soldier went down quickly. The second fired back, but Armin dodged. The third tried to flank, but there was no space. Armin pushed forward. Strong, precise, within seconds, all 3 were down. Silence returned again. Armin stood still, breathing slowly. He did not feel victory, only weight. He had crossed a line. There was no going back now. He turned quickly, running back to the child. She was still there, curled behind the rock, her eyes wide with fear. It's okay, he said again. This time softer. He picked her up quickly. We have to go. Behind him, more signals appeared on his visor. More soldiers, more drones. They were not stopping. Armin looked ahead into the darkness. His path was getting harder. His choices were getting fewer. But his decision was clear. No matter what happened, he would protect her. Even if it meant losing everything. Even if it meant becoming the enemy. Captain Armin moved fast through the broken land. The night was darker now, and the wind carried warning sounds from every direction. His visor showed more enemy signals than before. They were closing in from all sides. The child in his arms was awake, but silent. She could feel his tension and the danger around them. Armin did not slow down. Every step was a race against time. They are hunting us, he said quietly, not just me. U.S. Ahead of him, a large ruined structure appeared, half buried in the ground. Armin recognized it immediately. Old transport station, abandoned during the war, but still active in parts, maybe. A chance. He entered carefully, scanning every corner. Inside, it was dark and silent. Metal walls, broken lights, and deep shadows. The child held onto him tighter. It's okay, he whispered again, though he was not sure himself. At the center of the station, he found something. A small emergency shuttle, old model, but still functional. His eyes narrowed. This was it, a way out. But the system was locked and needed full activation code. Armin quickly moved to the control panel, typing fast, searching through military override codes. His hands were steady, but his mind was racing. Outside, a distant explosion echoed. They were getting closer. The child looked around nervously, then back at him. Armin did not stop working. Almost there, he whispered. Suddenly, a loud alarm sounded inside the station. System breach detected. They found us, Armin said. His voice was calm but firm. He picked up the child again and moved toward the shuttle. But then, a loud mechanical sound came from outside. Heavy footsteps, multiple units. Not just soldiers, heavy assault drones. The entire area was surrounded. Armin stopped for a moment, looking at the exit. Blocked. No time, he said under his breath. He looked at the child. Her eyes were wide, but she did not cry. She trusted him completely. That trust hit him harder than anything else. He gently placed her inside the shuttle. Stay here, he said softly. She grabbed his hand. Refusing to let go, Armin paused, then placed his hand over hers. I will come back, he said, even though he did not know if it was true. He closed the shuttle door, locking it from outside. The child's face pressed against the glass, watching him. Then, the first blast hit the station. The ground shook violently. Dust fell from the ceiling. Armin turned instantly, his weapon ready. The enemy had arrived. Drones entered first, scanning and locking targets. Armin fired immediately. One dropped, then another. But more kept coming. Heavy soldiers followed, moving in formation. "Armin, surrender," a voice called through speakers. "You are outnumbered." Armin did not answer. He moved fast between cover points, fighting carefully, using every skill he had. But it was too many, he knew it. Still, he did not stop. Inside the shuttle, the child watched everything, her small hands shaking on the glass. "Dad," she whispered. Armin heard nothing, but something inside him felt it. A final wave of drones entered, cutting off all escape routes. Armin was pushed back, step by step. His armor was damaged, his breathing heavy. He looked at the shuttle one last time. The child was still watching him, waiting, trusting. That was the moment. Armin made his final decision. He turned toward the control panel and activated the shuttle remotely. "No," he whispered to himself. But it was already done. The system started powering up. The child realized what was happening. She pressed her hands on the glass, confused, scared. Armin walked toward the center of the room, standing between the enemy and the shuttle. He raised his weapon one last time. "This ends here," he said calmly. The soldiers stopped for a moment, then advanced. Armin fought with everything left, not for victory, but for time. Every second mattered. The shuttle engine roared to life, lights flashing. Armin looked back one final time. The child's eyes met his. And in that moment, she understood. "No." She whispered again. The shuttle lifted slowly, breaking through the station roof. Armin stayed behind, blocking the enemy's path. He lowered his weapon slightly, breathing heavily. His mission was complete, but his story was not. The shuttle escaped into the sky, carrying the child away. Armin stood alone, surrounded. And for the first time in years, he felt something like peace, even if it was only for a moment. The shuttle rose through the burning sky, breaking through smoke, fire, and falling debris. Inside, the small alien child pressed her hands against the glass, watching everything disappear below her. Her eyes searched desperately, looking for him. "Dad," she whispered again, but there was no answer. The shuttle kept rising, fast, unstable, but still moving forward. Captain Armin stood alone on the ground. Surrounded by enemy forces, his armor was damaged, his breathing heavy, but he did not move. He looked up at the sky, watching the shuttle disappear into the dark clouds. For a moment, everything became silent inside him. No war, no orders, no noise, only one thought. "She is safe." A loud command came through the enemy speakers. "Target confirmed. Eliminate Captain Armin." Soldiers raised their weapons. Drones locked onto him, but Armin did not react. He slowly lowered his weapon, not in surrender, but in acceptance. He had already given everything. The child, the mission, his name, his future. Now only his past remained. A distant explosion shook the ground. Dust rose into the air. But Armin stood still. His mind drifted for a moment. He saw memories again. A small hand holding his. A laugh in a quiet home. A voice calling him, "Dad." Then war erased everything. Until today, until her. A soft voice came through his come one last time. "Captain Armin, respond." He smiled slightly. The first real smile in years. "No response needed," he said quietly. Then he removed his helmet, letting the wind touch his face. The soldiers hesitated for a second, not understanding his actions. Armin looked at the sky one last time. The shuttle was gone now, just a small light fading into space. "Live," he whispered. Not to anyone, but to her. Then the attack began. Energy shots filled the air. Drones moved in fast. Soldiers advanced from all sides. Armin did not run. He did not fight to win. He fought to delay. Just a little longer. Every step he took was slow, but controlled. He moved like a man who already accepted the end, one by one. Enemy units closed in, but Armin still stood. He blocked their path again and again. Taking hits, but not falling. His vision became blurry, his body weaker. But he stayed up, because somewhere far above, a small life was still moving away from this war. Inside the shuttle, the child was crying now. Her hands pressed tightly against the glass. She could not see him anymore, but she knew. She knew he was still there. Dad. She whispered again, softly broken. The shuttle entered orbit, leaving the planet behind. The war below became small, like fading fire. And then, silence in space. Years later, the galaxy changed. Rumors spread across systems. Stories about a human soldier who betrayed his own army to save an alien child. Some called him a traitor, some called him a monster, but some called him something else, a father on a distant peaceful world. A grown alien girl stood under the sky, watching stars. She was older now, stronger, but never the same. She still remembered the burning planet and the man who stood between her and death. Every night she looked at the stars, searching for one light, hoping it was him and somewhere deep in space. A broken transmission was still being decoded, a final message from a dying soldier. Live. For both of us. Back on the battlefield, the war ended hours later. No one ever found Captain Armin's body. Only silence remained. But legends were born from silence, and in that silence, one truth stayed alive. He was meant to kill her, but instead, he became the reason she lived, and in the end, the galaxy did not remember the war. It remembered a single choice. A human soldier who was called enemy, but became a father, and somewhere far away, a child still whispered his name. Dad.